And it's time to welcome my next live guest, which is Sgt Culpepper.
Yay!
Woo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
This is
whoop.
so nice. Thank you so much for coming in live.
Thank you for having me.
To chat in real life.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Thank you.
How you come from South East London?
Yep, South East London, all the way from sunny Catford.
Yes.
And yeah, it's actually a nice day today.
I know.
It was a bit rainy earlier, but it's brightened up and
Yeah.
people are out and about. It's nice to see people. I'm not going to lie.
I know. London is, because this is, we're in the heart of Soho, but the streets, like Oxford Street and stuff, hasn't been this busy with people like shopping for, I don't think, like over a year. I haven't seen it this busy. It's kind of, it feels kind of weirdly normal. It does feel, again.
Yeah. It's just nice to see smiles and life emerging.
Yeah.
I don't know. It gives you bit of hope.
It does.
Yeah.
So were you the kind of person that was watching the football or hiding from the football last night?
I was watching it.
Yeah.
Whilst hiding.
Okay, yeah. Bit of both.
You know when you just, I don't know, it just creates a bit of anxiety for me. It's so intense.
Yeah.
And there's so much riding on, you know, how we perform that I pretend not to care.
Yeah. But really,
I don't care.
Inside you
it's
really
just
care.
a game. And then you see a goal go and you're like, go on, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You just can't help but get swept up in it.
Yeah. So where were you watching it last night?
I was in the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, local.
Yeah, it was exciting. The atmosphere was amazing.
Yeah.
I went to watch it as well, and just in like a bar over on Chatsworth Road, like over at like northeast, and like popped outside for a breather, and then they scored the second goal, and then like carried on just standing outside, and then they got the third one. It's like, if I keep standing outside, then they'll shoot again.
Yeah.
Get another goal.
That could be a good omen.
I know. But no, it was so good. It was just like, the vibes in London were really, really, really good. Even though it's just like, I was saying to Rihanna earlier, like, It's Coming Home has just been living rent-free in my head for the last month. This is like a loop.
I feel like there's going to be a 2021 version emerging soon.
Yeah.
It
Maybe you could do it.
I don't know if I could be that brazen to pull one off, but I feel like a new version is coming very soon.
Yeah.
Shout out to whoever achieves that. Yeah.
So Joel, I mean, things are really, really exciting for you right now. You know, there's a debut album that you've I just saw on your Instagram recently. You've got the vinyl copy of that album. It's coming out towards the end of this month.
That's great.
How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm feeling all the feels.
Yeah.
It's all sort of culminating to a point of just exhaling and just like, I can't believe this is happening now. So it's 2 years and it's making 3 years to come out. An array of people involved, producers, and a lot of hard work and soul went into there. So I'm really chuffed that it's finally emerging.
Yeah.
So
3 years. When did you start writing it and putting it together? And does it feel like, you know, sometimes with a debut album, you've been releasing music for a while and you've put out singles and EPs and you know, collaborations and stuff, but was there that kind of sense of like, this is my first real piece of work and I want it to be the best thing I could?
I think artists generally put a lot of pressure on themselves to, you know, produce a solid body of work. You know, if that interests you as an artist, then you're definitely going to take your time. I just doubled that by like 1 million and went extra slow. And I think it was a confidence thing as well. You know, an album just feels like, to me, I didn't want to loosely ban that name around album. I felt like it needed to have the right approach and the right sentiment around it. And I finally got the courage to kind of get some things going other than just sort of single releases and EPs. Collaborated with Swindle quite heavily, and I was on tour with him at the time in 2019. And I was like, look, I've started this with these different producers and I'm thinking it's an album. Like, how do you fancy executive producing it? He's just like, I've been waiting for you to tell me this. And it's been great ever since, really, in terms of just the belief around me, the contemporaries and the people I've collaborated with. The belief has been overwhelming to see me deliver this. So I want to make them proud because they've made me feel a superstar.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, it does. I mean, the tracks off this, what we've heard, so far, are stunning. Like,
thank you.
The production, the vocal, the songwriting, it's pretty, like, Tears of a Crown, like, I'll say it's flawless.
Oh, thank you.
Like, it really is. Like, it really is. I was listening to it, like, again, I've been listening to it a lot, but I was listening again on the way in, just kind of refreshing, and it's just the perfect track. It's amazing.
Thank you. We nearly slept on it as a full song. It was originally in a full song, and I sort of had a wobble about it and was like, no, I think it's an intro. And Guy Chambers, who co-produced it alongside Swindle, sort of got the version that we had come up with, which was like just an intro, and was just like, no, it's not an intro, guys.
Yeah.
It's a full song. Like, let's go back in the studio and finish it properly. And I'm so glad he did. There's just been so many standout moments in the process of making this album. It's taught me a lot. It taught me when to be outspoken and when to fall back and listen to someone that's had the driver's seat and knows what to do with a record like this. So, yeah, man.
Yeah. Someone to tell you, look, this song needs to shine.
Yes.
It's not an intro.
Yes.
It needs to
Sit down, lad.
Yeah.
Let me teach you a few things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I guess also it's that thing of having someone just to help kind of guide you and coax you into, because maybe you wouldn't have thought of that. Maybe it would have been just that sort of first idea, and now it's a fully fledged track and probably one of the high points of the record.
Yeah, totally.
And we should talk about, you performed it actually recently on Later with Jools Holland. Or like oh my god, the lighting and like the orchestra and the backing vocal and you just looking cool with your top off. It was beautifully shot.
Thank you.
Was that tell me about going and doing that, because I guess it's a bit different. Like, there's not a live audience.
So their new format is framing these artists in different London venues. And, I kind of got wind that we'd be potentially doing it, and I was in the running for this series. And I'm a massive Jools fan. I'm a massive Later fan. I've been going to the show for, 10 years in the audience.
Yeah.
Just watching different bands. So I know the format pretty well. Shout out to Phil Veacock, who got me in on his guest list every time. He's Jools' MD. And, it meant so much to me getting it. And when we finally sort of got the confirmation to say that we was a part of the series, it was all about, where are they going to film it? And we was kept in the dark for a pretty long time. And then all of a sudden it was just like, you're doing it at Abbey Road, Studio One.
Wow.
And I was just like, I saw that email, and I just, a lump came to my throat, because my album's called Sgt Culpepper. There's a few nods to the Beatles that I've had over the years, actually.
I was going to ask if that was a Beatles.
And I just felt like, I don't know, it felt very significant to me to finally get to Jools and perform it at Abbey Road. So that was an amazing milestone for us. And shout out to the director, Sean, who beautifully shot us, and Swindle, who kind of orchestrated the whole live aspect, and the whole team involved. It was a magic day. It really was.
And was it really exciting seeing the reaction to it once it went?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And my manager Dan had arranged like a little get-together for us all to watch it. And at first, I didn't really understand the significance of us doing that. I'm so pleased that we did do that, because it just felt like this is such a big deal for us. This is a real win, and I'm glad we marked it. And whilst watching it, I kind of tuned out of my performance, because Jools had introduced me, and he had said, I was from London, and, that I'm a fan of wordplay. Here's a song, Tears of a Crown, from his album, Sgt Culpepper.
Yeah.
He's got an amazing voice. And I was just stuck on that. I was like, I can't hear anything else other than what Jools has just said about my album. And he said the album title, like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So
was he walking backwards at the time? You know what I mean?
I want to do it again so I can see the walk backwards and just, the hand gesture out to the artist. Yeah.
That guy,
I've had dreams about
multitasking,
that.
walking backwards, announcing stuff. It's like, I wonder what would happen if he walked forwards. Would everything just go to shit?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, he's such a legend, and it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
man.
such a legendary show. But the performance, if anyone hasn't seen it, please go watch it. It's just,
Thank you.
it's a real magic coming together of the track and of everything. So I think we should play Tears of a Crown.
Yeah.
I've got Joel Culpepper in the studio, and we're going to be chatting more and playing some more tracks. But yeah, this is what it sounds like. That is Tears of a Crown, and that is from Joel Culpepper, and I have got Joel in the studio.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo! And we were just talking then. We were just talking before, during the track. Quite a few wonderful people helping you out. The backing vocals on that.
Yeah, shout out to my brothers, Maverick Sabre, Koji Radical.
Nice.
Yeah, and the Peppers. The Peppers were like basically Becky, Annette, and King, who were backing vocals across the whole album. And we fondly named them the Peppers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're on there too.
Yeah. What was it? Firstly, Tears of a Crown. Like, what was the inspiration when you first wrote that track? What were you thinking about?
I guess it was. I suppose it came from a place of feeling like there was all this belief and a passing down the baton from a lot of legends and a lot of people I respected. And them saying, yeah, you're next, you've got this. And me feeling a little bit dubious about that and apprehensive and, you sure? Me? Like, you know what I mean? And there's people that I feel are stronger and better that have kind of come before me. And I guess the sentiment is the heart of it is to try and overcome your own personal doubts and rise to it. And, we all battle and, kind of overcoming that whole thing in our head, that internal monologue, and just pushing through. It's accepting the role you're meant to be playing and quite clearly the music you're meant to be making, etc., and starting to own that. So that's where Tears came from.
Yeah. And the Beatles references, because the record is called Sgt Culpepper.
Yeah.
Like what you did there. Guessing it's, referencing Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, but yeah, I mean, the Beatles then is that a big kind of core influence for you then, or where did those influences come in?
I think there's points of the Beatles sort of catalogue where I definitely tune in. The reason for the album title was literally, a good play on my name. But also, Sgt Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was like, sort of recognised as the first concept record. And we kind of wanted to follow the format of doing a concept LP. So have a story, a narrative, beginning, middle, end, characters, sides, versions, etc. And that was the bulk of the reason to sort of nod to the concept album. And it just felt appropriate to then call it Sgt Culpepper. Yeah.
So what is the theme that then threads?
So it's 4 chapters.
Right.
4 sides to the same person. The battle, the surrender, the love, and the lesson.
Nice.
And I suppose I kind of go through versions of myself throughout the track listing, and the various producers on the record help bring out that side, those various sides to me.
Yeah.
And I hope anyway that people see themselves in that. I think we present different sides to different people, and we're so multi-dimensional. We're not just one thing. I can be quite reserved, but I can be quite, on stage. It's a really, it's a different thing.
Is it?
It really is, So, I kind of wanted to show that identity within the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like really like a lot of thought has gone into every step of this.
Definitely tried.
Obviously, that's, you're making a piece of art essentially, so obviously there's going to be thought gone into it. But no, it just does feel like everything's very thought out and considered.
Yeah.
And kind of like the whole sort of album thing as a body of work. I don't think that will ever die.
No.
I think there was a point, wasn't there? Where everyone was like, "Oh, people don't listen to full albums anymore because no one's got the attention span. People just dip in and out and pick tracks." No, they don't.
No, they don't.
I listen to full albums all the time.
I just think with the streaming, obviously, platform, it's a great tool and it's a great way to access music very quickly, but it doesn't necessarily take away from the art and the intention behind making an album and a record. And those people who love that still exist, and they want to discover, you know, how an artist thinks. They want to find the Easter eggs. They want to find sort of, you know, a book, a story within these albums. And I do when I listen to an artist. I want to discover that.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be other people like me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it sounds like this is definitely one of those, you put it on at the start, go through that journey with you, you know, go through those 4 stages and experience it in that way.
Totally.
Let's go back a bit. I want to play
back
another
into time.
Yeah, this was so 2017. This project came out.
Yeah.
Would you call it an EP?
EP.
So yeah.
Yeah.
The Tortoise EP, and this is sort of around the time I first really got into music. I'd heard like bits and bobs, but then this track Woman, which is, God, it's got such an old soul to this track. It's amazing. Tell me a bit about this.
Woman's a really interesting one in that, you know, I made it with Swindle executive produced the album coming out. And this was our first sort of real single or song together. I'd done some bits and pieces for his album, backing vocals and little features here or there. But this was like our first, right, let's try something. And it got played and people liked it and it was well received to an extent. But it didn't really kick off until I performed this song for Colours.
Yes.
And I think what happened is that it just had context. I think people understood me as an artist and the potential and the physicality of the performance and just the whole, they believed me, I think. And it just put it in a spaceship, and it went, and it flew doors open for me. It went crazy for the next, you know, still really. You know, I get tagged in Woman stuff daily. And this is, as you say, 2017. And it's just, it blows my mind, like how well it's done and how attached people are to this song. I didn't write anything down. It was pure, it was just gut instinct of, I think I need to say this on this song. Yeah. You know, very stripped back, simple, keys, bass, drum, bit of guitar, you know, and me just. And
you improvised.
So we improvised that whole thing, and then the idea was always to come back to it, fill it out a bit. You know, it's kind of one straight vocal. You know, we're going to layer it and harmonies and da. And then me and Swindle sat down the next day. I was like, I don't think we need to. You know, I think it's all right. Yeah. I think it's all right, you know. And as you said, it kind of echoes the old soul, but done in a way that I think maybe, you know, can translate today and people can get into today. It's not just sort of a pastiche of, or, you know, an imitation of what someone did in the 60s. But yeah, man, I'm super proud of it still, and often perform it live. Have to.
Yeah, well, obviously.
I'll disappoint some people if I don't do this.
It's the one they're like, play Woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hurl stuff at you. Why would you play it?
It's happened. Yeah, it really has.
That blows my mind that was improvised. Wow.
Yeah, I had James Brown in my head.
Yeah.
And I had Curtis in my head, and I had D'Angelo in my head.
Nice.
And I was just like, I think I've got something, just record. And it just came out.
And so the track was already, there was like the instrumental track.
Yeah, so the instrumental track had been there.
it.
Swindle had just finished putting some keys down, and I was just like, yeah, I feel like I've got the right vibe for this. And yeah, that was kind of it.
Yeah. We got to hear this.
We got to hear it, right?
I'm gonna hear this with completely new ears. Wow. Okay, this is Sgt Culpepper and Woman. So this is Woman, this is Sgt Culpepper, my live studio guest on this month's show. Whew, that is phenomenal. I just cannot get my head, that was improvised. That was mad.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
It just shows, doesn't it, sometimes, like, don't over-egg the pudding, you know? Like, that moment that was captured on that, it's like, it didn't need to, anything else added, it didn't need it, you know?
Yeah, it actually gave us quite a bit of intel for the album, because I think for Swindle, he recognised in that moment, he was like, I think with your voice, we just need space. And actually it just needs to breathe, and the production needs to be approached from that standpoint. Can't have too much things going on in there because, you know, I don't know, you get excited and you're like, yeah, let's put this in, let's fill that out, and it's just like, nah, mate, I think the way you're approaching and your delivery on songs just needs a bit of space and more of just a light hug around the vocal and
a soft embrace.
Yeah.
Just well, no, but like your voice is absolutely like far out. Your vocals are just, so, I mean, it's like a true gift. Your voice,
Thank you.
know. So yeah, that needs to be the star of the show.
I'm gonna have to live with that, I think.
Yeah. When did you start singing, and when did you realise that I can sing?
I think I'm still realising it. In all honesty, I never tire of someone saying you've got a really good voice, and that's always it's just from a place of have I? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, you sort of learning, coming up, and not every experience is positive. And I grew up in church. And singers were dime a dozen in those environments. They just are like singers that would just blow you out of the water, man. Like, you know, hairs on the back of your neck. So I wasn't really seen as a singer as such, potentially a performer and someone that could hold a note, but not really a singer. And then I got exposed to college and listening to sort of soul, neo soul, you know, from Omar to kind of D'Angelo to Maxwell to Jill Scott. The list goes on. And I just sort of discovered I can actually sit on top of the melody with this falsetto. I think I can do that. And it took a few years on stage for me to really embrace that I can do it and I should.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always that version of myself sometimes, like, you know, I think I can, so I should. So it's like, no, you've been doing it for a few years now, Joel. Like, you can do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was sort of like a grounding experience then if there were loads of amazing singers around you. Totally. It's kind of like, yeah, like no one's like more special than the other because the bar is so high.
It's so high. And, you know, you're inspired by all of these amazing, talented people. And, yeah, in some ways it definitely gave me a bar, but I think I needed to go somewhere else to get the confidence to just let go. And I'm still working on that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think it takes ages, doesn't it, to find in any creative endeavour. It takes ages to find your voice. Yeah. You know, that's a whole process. Like, it doesn't just take, you know, a month. Yeah. It can take 6-7 years to really find your groove. But I think that's where we find you, Joel, right now. Is like I think everything. This is the point now. Yeah. This is like the jumping off point of like, this is what I'm about. This is what I've been working towards, and it's all there now. Yeah. You know, debut album. End of the month. No, it's really exciting. Like, I'm really excited for you, and
Thank you.
It feels like you should own it. You know, you really should, because it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to chat about it a bit more with you, like in depth. So the record is coming out. We want to play Thought About You. Mm-hmm. So when I first heard this, I was like, I think you'll be pleased with this. I'm not sure.
Go for it.
But I was like, you know, Prince, there's a whole posthumous album coming out from Prince. And I was like, I just caught the end of it and I was like, is that Prince? And then I was like, nah, maybe it's not, but is it? And then it's not.
I can go home now because you just made my day.
But seriously, like, there's in like the best possible way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's like it's not a Prince ripoff in any way, shape, or form. But there's just your vocal. There's that Prince-esque magic in the performance.
I adore Prince.
Yeah.
And I've had the privilege of seeing him live when he was doing his pop-up shows a few years back. I got to go to the Ronnie Scott's one, and I think he'd done 2 shows in one night, and I was at the second. Mm-hmm. Waited for 7 hours outside in the rain. I mean, the drama of it all was there. Yeah. And he, in no exaggeration, that show changed my life.
Yeah.
because I think there was a switch that went off for me in not caring once I'm on stage anyway, in just letting go. And he had this ability of just being so in the present that it just made you feel, I don't know, high. It was just a weird, I remember this bloke stood next to me and I sort of was watching Prince and I turned round and we sort of caught eyes and he just said to me, can you believe this is happening? And I just like, no, like this, you could see it in his face and I'd imagine he saw it in mine. Like he's taken our breath away almost, you know, he's having such an impression on everybody in this room. And I grew up, I suppose, with trickles of Prince. He wasn't overtly played in my house because I think in a gospel sort of home, Prince was definitely a bit more risque in how he approached music. But once I got into neo soul, I kind of went back and I was like, Prince. Like, and then my mate put me on to Sign of the Times and I was converted.
Yeah.
End of,
yeah. It's funny you talk about that Ronnie Scott show because I remember when those happened, there was like, I couldn't go to any for ages because I was at work or then, you know, you really had to commit. You had to just go to Camden or wherever he was playing that day and just, you know, wait in line, show up, be there. And then he did the Roundhouse one and I managed to get one ticket. And that was obviously like totally fine with me because it meant seeing him at the Roundhouse. Yeah. So I went on my own and I was sat on the balcony and there was like a girl next to me who worked for a cinema because Prince had booked out a cinema for his crew like the night before and then just given them a bunch of tickets. And we were watching it from like the top of the Roundhouse just looking down and he just did this like 17-minute version of Purple Rain and me and this girl, we were both just in floods of tears. Like it was I know what you mean, that feeling of like, I can't believe I got to see that. Yeah. You know, because, you know, he's dearly departed now and, you know, it's like, I'm just so glad that I got to see him that one time. Yeah. It was
enough for me. It was enough information and communication that I needed and almost a confidence boost that I looked for or was looking for. I don't know. It was just like everything I needed to know as a performer I found in that show.
Yeah. And that just feeling of, right, I can surrender in that moment and just, I suppose, like completely do you and whatever that is, you know, in that moment, be super present. Yeah. Oh, he was amazing. And he still is amazing. Yeah. And there's this new record coming out, which he recorded in 2010. And like, it's just, you know, the master. Yeah. So, yeah. And you were talking about like how the Tears of a Crown is kind of like that feeling of like these masters that you're like, you know, can I be involved and emulate and stuff? Was a lot of that? Did that come off the back of that kind of rather bleak period where we lost loads of legends?
I mean, so there was there's Prince, there was Bowie.
There's loads. George Michael.
Yeah, George as well. I mean, those guys they was really themselves. Totally. I don't know. They would probably argue that they wasn't in a lot of ways, but I think that's what made them so alluring and appealing is that they just look like you're 100% who you're meant to be and you don't care about anything else other than that. And not many people are able to access that, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I think during that time I probably did, you know, start to step out a bit more and be like, I'm here. This is what my voice can do. And I'm going to own that, especially on the stage. Yeah. I think I definitely committed to that aspect. You know, whether it's my top flying off or the sort of engagement with the crowd, I just thought, throw it all out of the window, Joel. Just go with it. Go as far as you can. And there's some shows I don't remember what I did. Yeah. And that's because I feel like I'm in another plane and I've gone to a place where it's just like letting go. So, yeah, hopefully those guys did leave something for us all to
of course.
use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just before we play it, and say thanks, so much for coming in. It's been so nice to chat to you.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah,
and I really implore everybody to check out the record when it comes out on the 23rd of July. Yeah. But thought about you. Is there anything you can tell about this, like a story or like how it came together?
So it was produced by Sean Lee, an amazing multi-instrumentalist, now friend. His drumming is amazing. He ended up drumming across the whole record. And he's a part of another band, Young Gun, Silver Fox. Amongst a lot of other things Sean Lee has done. We kind of had two mutual sort of friends or connections, and everybody was kind of like, you two should work together. And we kind of got together, and this song emerged very quickly. We was listening to a lot of Shuggy Otis, a bit of Bowie.
Yeah.
I was definitely channeling some yacht rock stuff with the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan, and this is the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should let everybody hear it.
Thought about you.
If they haven't already thought about you. Joel Culpepper, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.